welcome back to part two. At this point, you should have already watched the first part, which basically covers the first four tips on how you'd be able to level up your ESL teaching skills so that you will be fully booked. The goal of this video is to help you become fully booked, is to help you attract more regular students. Because regardless of the ESL company you work for, Native Camp, 51 Talk, Skyeng, NovaKid, and so on, well, you have to level up your teaching skills so that your students would appreciate your classes and they would want to book your classes more. Just like what I've mentioned on part one of the biggest challenges here in Native Camp, as per several teachers, would be they don't have much regular students, that they go on standby for hours only to find out that no one's going to book them. And we don't want that to happen to you. So, I am a native camp teacher. I've been a native camp teacher for about 12 weeks now, and I am fully booked. I work from 1 p.m. until 11:30 in the evening, and all of those slots are 100% fully booked. I never ever have to take sudden classes. And just like what I always say, if I can do it, you can do it. And that's the reason why I'm sharing all of these secrets, all of these tips that I have for you to help you be able to earn more, to help you be able to have more students. So, to those of you who'd like to be a native camp teacher, you know the drill. Send me an email at askteachakaren@gmail.com. I'll send you tried and tested tips for you to pass all on your first take. And for my future private class students, all you have to do is to add me on WeChat, send me a message. My WeChat details are on the description box. So, let's get started. And by the way, teacher, just like on my previous video, I shared a disclaimer that um, I am still following the native camp teaching style, whatever they taught us from the learning kit. It's just that I level it up. I added lots of personal touches to it because these, I believe, are things that would help me be a better teacher. These are the things that I believe would allow my students to have a better experience in my class. Not that I'm saying that there's something wrong with the native camp teaching style. No, it's just that it doesn't work for me. And what works for me is adding my own personal touch to it. And that's why I'm sharing them with you. Tip number five, and basically the first tip for this video, use a wide variety of teaching methods or techniques. So it's not enough that you have several props to use. It's not enough that you have your own antics, but you also have to incorporate tried and tried and tested ESL teaching techniques. The first one, the most basic one, is TPR, total physical response. Basically, it's all about incorporating hand gestures and actions to whatever you are teaching the student. For example, you're teaching them the concept of a cat. Instead of just saying cat, it's a cat, you say meow meow, it's a cat. See, I'm incorporating actions. Instead of teaching the concept of run by just simply saying run, why not act it out? Run, walk, stop. So, by incorporating actions to the things that you teach your students, they find it easier to grasp new concepts. And it just doesn't stop there that you have to act it out. You also have to have the student act it out. You ask them to do whatever you're doing. Can you do this for teacher? Can you do this for teacher? Brush my teeth. Eat pizza. Eat an apple. And they would do the same. That way, they could associate the new words and new sentence patterns with actions. Thus, it becomes easier for them to remember them in the long run. The next most common teaching technique is how you teach pronunciation. You have a camera, right, Teacha? When you are teaching pronunciation, it's not enough that you say it a million times cat, 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 or walk, walk, walk. You have to show them the correct mouth movements. Walk, walk. Then you move your face closer to the screen. Beware, Teacher. walk. I know it looks funny, but yeah, walk. I move my face closer to the screen for them to get to see the proper mouth movement, especially when you're teaching adults and the words that you're teaching are more challenging, just like enthusiastic. Enthusiastic, enthusiastic. They have to see the mouth movements, especially when you're giving feedback, let's say about the long A sound, as in train. I even showed them the mouth movements and the changes on my jaw and tongue. Train, train. The jaw has to move outward, the lower jaw, right? Yeah, this is just a jaw. You only have one jaw. Your jaw has to move outward. So that's how you teach pronunciation. The next step that I have would be translanguaging. Translanguaging is incorporating their mother tongue with whatever word you're teaching. Let's say for Taiwanese students, instead of just introducing the concept of dog, I'd also say go, dog, go, because go is Chinese for dog. Cat, mao, cat, mao. Even though my Chinese is poor, at least I'm doing my best to use their language and incorporate it with whatever I'm teaching. Likewise, we do the same thing with our Japanese students. Just use Google Translate, Teacha. Listen to how to, listen to Google Translate and try to incorporate that to the lesson. You can actually copy and paste Google translations on the chat box for your students to be able to understand the new word that you're trying to teach them. And again, that's what we call translanguaging. The next approach that I'm a fan of would be the interactive approach. Whenever I teach students, I hate it when they become parrots. When they just copy me, they just say, apple, apple, apple. Or let's say for difficult words for adults, let's say the word is probably. So I don't want them to be robots and parrots just repeating what I'm trying to say. I want it to be interactive. So I would play games with my students. Show me game, for example. Show me color. Show me the color red. Show me star. Show me an apple. Or I'm going to be showing objects like, is this yellow? Is it blue? Or we would play games like bring me games or touch me or touch your game. Let's say touch your nose, touch your eyes, touch your ears. So I ask my students to accomplish tasks. I even ask some of my students to write on a notebook. For my regulars, we usually have this notebook and I ask them to write a bunch of stuff there, the new words that we learn, and then we review it the next time we have a class. That's how I make it interactive. My students get to do something instead of just listening to me and just repeating what I'm saying. They get to write, they get to respond, they get to think, they get to do some actions, they get to follow instructions. That's how you could make it interactive. And of course, we also have the popular student centered approach. When we say student centered approach, what I do is every student, every class is unique. Whatever I teach you, I teach it because I know you need it. I know it will help you, and I know that I have to incorporate your interests to the class. Just like what I've said, if my student likes Pokemon, I'm going to be showing Pikachu, and I'm going to ask more about Pikachu. If my student likes ice cream, I'm also prepared for that. I'm going to give them actual ice cream, and I'll give this as a reward in class. So, I make every student feel as if I act differently in every class. That when I'm in your class, I would act the way you need me to. That I know your interests, I know what you want, and I know what you need. That's why I remember. Or sometimes if I have poor memory, I write it down on a notepad and I read it first before I have a class. That's how you could make sure that you have a student-centered approach. Tip number 6, encourage your students to talk. Uh-huh. So this is how I level up my teaching style, teacher, because I just don't follow the script. I just don't ask my student to repeat after me, but I encourage them to think and talk. Because if you come to think of it, the parents of the kids, your students who are kids, and the adults that you teach, they sign up for online classes because they want to talk. Because if they don't want to talk, then, they could just watch online videos. They could just read books. They could just watch tutorials on how to be a better speaker, how to read better, how to listen better in English. But the reason why they sign up for our ESL classes is because they want to talk. They want to have talking opportunities. That's why in every class, you must always ask close ended and open ended questions. Close ended questions would be questions answerable by yes or no. Do you like apples? Do you like pink? And then instead of just, settling for yes or no, you could ask them to answer incomplete sentences. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Or let's say for my adults, how do you feel about exercising in the morning? And they're going to be like, how do I feel about exercising in the morning? Nah, I don't like exercising in the morning because I'm not a morning person. It's very difficult for me to wake up early and exercise and so on. So, as you can see, by asking open ended questions, questions that would encourage them to talk, and close ended questions, questions answerable by yes or no, you still encourage them to speak their mind and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. You have to remember that the student talk time has to be this way. Your students talk more than you do. Or maybe worst case scenario 50-50, right? 50% the teacher, 50% the students. Another strategy, of course, is to ask your students how to, or rather, ask your students to answer in complete sentences. When you ask them, is this a doll? They just say, yes or no. Why not say, no, it's not, or yes, it is, right? Or when you ask them about their favorite hobby, what's your favorite hobby? Instead of them just saying dodgeball, you encourage them to say, my favorite hobby is dodgeball. That way they get to speak more, they get to learn new sentence patterns, and they get to express themselves in English. Eventually your students will get used to it and you wouldn't have to remind them every time to answer incomplete sentences. And I also do this whenever I do my review sessions. When I say review sessions, the last 5 minutes of the class, the native camp style would be just you have to ask the students to repeat after you. Say the word apple 3 times, say the word banana 3 times, say the word yellow 3 times. That's it. But for me, I encourage my students to talk. I'd ask them test questions. What's this? It's an apple. Is this a banana? No, it's not. It's it's an orange. Things like those. I'd ask test questions, even for adults. Isn't for adults, you just have to ask them to repeat the words. For example, they have to say the word boutique, 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 boutique. Instead of just repeating the word, I'd ask them, could you please tell me what is a boutique? Then they would define it. That way, I get to test their knowledge, their attention, and I get to ask them to speak more. And again, that's for tip number 6. You encourage your students to talk, 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 because that is what they're paying for. That is the reason why parents of these young children invest on having a teacher because they want their children to learn how to talk in English. Talk, 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 talk. Tip number 7, be animated, entertaining, and sincere. So these are things that I add to my class and I make sure that my students get to feel. The first one is being animated. So when you're animated, you move as needed, you exaggerate things, you have, transparent facial expressions. You can make silly faces like that when you're trying to make them laugh, and you could also make funny faces like this or like that. Especially that when we're teaching children 7 years old and below, they have shorter attention spans. The goal is for them to love listening to you, and the only way that they would be attracted to you over and over again, and the only way that they would want to listen to you is if you're animated and if you are able to entertain them. That's why when I teach children, I'm so comical and animated. I move a lot. I show dolls. I have I even have a puppet. I change my voice. Hello, my name is Finn. What's your name? So all the crazy stuff I get to do in my class that sometimes I feel that I'm a clown because I think it's part of the job. It's an undisclosed job description that sometimes you have to be a clown. And then again, the last part, especially for adults, you have to be sincere. make your students feel that you really care about them. If they're taking classes because they want to pass the IELTS exam or TOEFL or TOEIC exam, make them feel that you really want them to pass, that you're a person who wants to help them pass. If you're teaching a student who's simply interested in English, have sincere or genuine conversations with them. Listen to them, show interest. Don't use your phone while you have a class with them. Don't disappear from the screen while you're having lessons from them. Genuinely listen to them and make them feel that you're interested. Be sincere. Give them a sincere smile. Express sympathy as needed. Express joy for the person if needed. You have to be a real person. Because if you're fake, your students would feel that you are fake. So that's a big no no. And finally, make your students feel special. This last tip is all about having a great relationship with your students, especially if you have regular students who've already booked several classes. You have to make that student feel that you value your relationship, that you are their second parent if they're a child. And if they're an adult, you have to make them feel that you are a friend who truly cares about them. Making someone feel special means that you treat them differently than other people, than strangers when you just shrug off strangers, when you just disregard them or you refuse to care about strangers. When it comes to this student, you'd make them feel that you know things about them, that you care about them, that you remember things about them. When they share stories about you, may it be about work, about a job interview, about a school project, about their experience with a friend, about their crush, and so on. You have to remember those little things. Sometimes my students would tell me, "Wow, teacher, you have such great memory. You remember." And I always say, "Of course I remember." I'd say, "Of course," because I really do my best to remember the stories of my students. I make them feel that I value the things that they share with me, that it's not just something that I easily forget, but I remember them because I value them as a person. And I just don't see my student as a source of income for me, but I see them as a person, I see them as a friend, or I see them as, you know, my child. Especially for my babies. My babies would be my regulars who are like 12 years old and below. To me, they're my babies. I love them dearly. There are even times when I tell my students, teacher loves you. I'll see you next time. So even though we don't have a face to face relationship and it's just like a long distance relationship, a virtual relationship, I still get to make them feel that they are special. And trust me, teacher, when your student feels special, they would like that feeling. They would be looking for that feeling because they feel that in your class. You will be more memorable and they would want to have more of you. So, all of these that I'm sharing with you, as you can see, eventually it will just come out naturally. At first, maybe you would feel fake. It would feel like it's just an act. You're just pretending. But eventually, it'll be genuine. Just like me. Maybe when I was younger, I was only pretending to care. I was pretending to be interested. But over time, because teaching has become a true passion for me, my relationship with each and every student has become genuine. It's real. And I could proudly say that my relationship with every student is real, and I'm proud of it. So, there you have it, Teacha. These are the 8 tips for you to be a better ESL teacher. 8 tips for you to level up your teaching style so that you will be fully booked. And one more time, if I can do it, you can do it. And yes, it will not be easy. And yes, I am not asking you to copy my style. I'm asking you to use this as an inspiration for you to be a better teacher. Put your own personal touch to your company's teaching style, wherever you may be at, Native Camp, 5-1 Talk, Nova Kid, Skyang, Webleo, Ingo, whatever company you're at. Add your own personal touch to it so that you'll be memorable and your students would want to book more of your classes. So, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, Teacher Karen, and comment below if you have any video requests or questions. To those of you who'd like to be a native camp teacher, you know the drill. Send me an email at askteacherkaren@gmail.com. I'll send tried and tested tips for you to pass all on your first take. Be a blessing to the people around you, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye bye.